Stargirl, The Lost Children, issue 1. So this is the 6-issue mini that is going alongside the actual JSA book that's starting. Is that this month or next month? Whenever that's starting. So yeah, we got Geoff Johns writing and Todd Nuck on the art. So there is a reference in this, the editor's note about the spring break special, which I'm sure did lead into this well enough, but luckily it doesn't really matter that much. I think it reads quite well, even if you don't remember a single thing about it. it sets up things well enough in the book that you just get what's going on. The only thing you need to know is that Courtney and Red Arrow are looking for this golden age sidekick hero named Wings. So there you go. That's all you need to know. But yeah, so this is an interesting story. You got some old school looking art talking about how this Dynamite Dan, who was the sidekick to TNT, was the first sidekick to a hero.
Have their mentor die.
Have their mentor die. That was the specific thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't the first sidekick, but it was the first one to be quote unquote orphaned.
Yeah, I liked a lot of this first scene actually. The goofy mask that the bank robbers were wearing felt very old school, so it was a nice little touch.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. The action, the old school 1930s style cars, all of it just looked really nice and kind of fit the theme of what it was going for. It reminded me of when you're reading Watchmen and you get the flashbacks or whatever to the Golden Age Minutemen stuff kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I see where you're going with.
So yeah, but we get this, the older version. This guy's all grown up now. He's an old man. 6 months ago, and he's looking into disappearance. We get more context for this later, when the girls go to his place. But that's kind of who we're introduced to. But then we get Courtney, and we get her just. And there's a nice page. This is a really good page actually. They're just kind of okay, if you don't know who Stargirl is, this is the first time you're reading Stargirl. Here's a brief history.
Yeah, it's a bit dense. There's a lot of text on this one page, but I will forgive it as being a necessary evil on issue 1 of a miniseries.
Yeah, I get the reason for it. But then from there on, you get right into kind of there's actually a joke here that I really liked where Courtney's mom's complaining that the only thing she's washed in the last month was her costume, and she mentions that she got dirty fighting Grundy. And she goes, "When did you fight Solomon Grundy?" And she's like, "A Monday?" I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah. It's always on a Monday.
I got a kick out of that. But yeah, so she's been told basically, you need to do better in school. You've been doing terrible. Stop hanging around with Emmy. And I like that Emmy's in this because it's we've not seen Emmy too much in a while.
Yeah, they make a nice pairing.
But of course, Emmy shows up at her window that night and says, "No, we have to go look for Wings." Even though Pat's adamant, Wings is dead. He died during this big fight years ago. He's been buried and everything. Come on, leave this alone. But Emmy shows up and says, "No, let's go. Come on, we're crime fighters and shit. Let's go do this." She complains about Oliver a little bit, which was nice callback to that early Rebirth run that we all liked from Green Arrow.
Yep.
But yeah, of course she's talked into it, and they go. We get a title page with the credits here about 2/3 through the issue. It's a really weird place, but I guess it's just where it fit.
So it's bang on halfway, actually.
Was it bang on halfway? Oh, fair enough.
Almost.
It felt just over. It felt later than that, but that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to this Dynamite Dan's house and find all of his old photos, and Courtney notes, wait a minute, who are all these characters? All these sidekicks that we're talking about here. I know everything about this era because I'm obsessed with it. I took over.
She's a nerd.
Yeah, it's Sylvester Pembleton stuff. And it's but I know none of these characters. You're mentioning Pitcher and the son of Alan Grant, Jay Garrick, Alan Grant's Jurassic Park character. I don't know why my mind went there. But all these other new characters that are getting introduced for this for the purpose of this that have been erased somehow from history that they're going to be looking into. We get them looking into this, and it's okay, clearly there was research done by Dynamite Dan that's led to this island in the water, and they're shit, we have to go there. But before they leave, they get this weird instance where someone's talking over the radio. Someone's talking to Danny, who's the Dynamite Dan. It's like it's coming through the static, and they're not quite sure what it is, and then the radio explodes. So it's like, okay, there's like a sort of mystery element going on here.
Pretty extreme.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. So well, why not? Just little exploding radios. It's so casual.
Yeah, I love how Emmy mentions the Arrow Cave, and Courtney's like, "Wait, what?"
But yeah. But still, they just need to rename it.
Yeah.
I hate Arrow Cave. Every time I see it, I'm like, it's stupid. Call it the Quiver.
The Quiver, yeah, it's way better. Makes more sense. So yeah, we see that Dynamite Dan, old age Dynamite Dan, did go out here, and he's on a boat. It looks like he's going towards Skull Island. That's what it makes me think of.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because he's like, because it's the island, right? And you get all this like rough water in front of all these craggy rocks. It just looks very much like Skull Island.
It reminds me of the first of the recent Tomb Raider games, like the start of that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All that, storm on the boat, with the shipwreck on this island. It's a very similar setting again.
Yeah, so obviously the ship meets some, rough water. It gets flipped over. The ship's filling with water. He dives for his ring, which is the ring that him and his superhero body had when they were younger, and he gets washed ashore. He lands on the beach, and he looks down at his hand. He's like, "Wait, my hand looks different." And then the big twist at the end of this issue is that he's back to being the age he was when he was the sidekick. But you hear a voice off panel say, "You're cursed. You shouldn't have come back here, Mr. Dunbar." So, obviously there's going to be stuff.
And then there's a scream in the lightning. As the final.
Of course, yes. Which is probably his, but,
That was definitely the implication.
Yeah. So, very curious. I will say, between this and the Golden Age, I don't know how you felt about that yet, but I quite liked it. It felt, it's like he's doing a GSA story in the style of the Doomsday Clock. Not as good as Doomsday Clock. Well, it's not yet, anyway.
I did read it, obviously, because I was annoyed at you for making me read it. Not making me read it, but making me read it before this.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine.
Why am I surprised?
Again, I've been very cynical about John's coming back to JSA, and to me, it felt like it was very much So the thing we always talk about with JSA and especially John's run is the legacy angle, and obviously legacy has been a big part of John's kind of stuff, especially Rebirth onwards, of like, hey, let's bring it all back. It felt very, very much like hey, you like legacy? I got a story about legacy, and to an extent, this I have a similar feeling about this as well, where with the way it's looking at the sidekicks, and the opening of this, is talking about how we didn't think about legacy. We were just sidekicks. So, we didn't think about legacy until after me, because I was the first one that was orphaned. It feels a little bit one note to me right now.
No, it's kind of what I like about it, is I felt that voice again. It has been so long since we've had that voice that I felt a lot out of this as I was reading it. I enjoy discovering more about these characters and the sort of the curiosity of our main two leads who are looking into it.
I like the interactions between Courtney and Emmy. I do like those two quite a lot. I think they play off each other well, and I would like more of those.
Well, I assume you're going to get a lot more over the course of this 6 issues.
I hope so, yeah. But I mean long term, not just for these 6 issues.
It wouldn't surprise me if there's something planned for after this in the GSA book. If John's is starting a line of things, then maybe, you'll get a different mini or two afterwards. But I enjoyed this issue, and I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the Golden Age one shot. So, but that's okay. Not all have to be equal or anything like that. But I think I like the sense of mystery. I like this sense of again, the mischief of Courtney getting up to stuff, even though it's pretty much just Courtney's MO at this point. Like, she's not making it back for her classes the next day, even though she promised. Of course she's not. She's getting on a boat. She's going to an island.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I don't believe that for a second. But I think, maybe this thematic will tie in with her as the story goes on about devoting herself just to being the superhero as opposed to, like, making sure, like, because, I mean, Dynamite Dan here, it looks like he lived a pretty sad life because he was still kind of just focused on who he used to be as the sidekick, as opposed to, you know, being happy in other ways. So, yeah. 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 And Nara's pretty good, I think, for the most part. Like I say, I really like the old school style that's in the sort of the flashback section for the Golden Age stuff. And yeah,
I think a lot of that is down to the strong coloring.
That's fair.
Because I think the art is, I wouldn't say the pencils, they're still good. They're very good in both sections. I don't think the pencils are that drastically different section to section, though. I think it's mainly the kind of newspaper style colors kind of that's giving it that feeling and doing a great job with it.
Yeah. I do think the like, you know, the faces are very expressive. I think they're viewing a little anime at times, but nothing that's too distressing to me.
Yeah.
You know, Courtney has those big eyes sometimes that I kind of associate with the.
I would not have. The only character at any point in this I feel looks even remotely anime would be her mum. There's like one or two panels, where you know, in that conversation in the kitchen at the start, that she looks a bit anime. I never felt it with Courtney, despite the bigger eyes.
Fair enough. So yeah, no, I had a good time. I'm definitely in for the book. I mean, I was hoping I would be. I remember reading that Stargirl Spring Break. I don't really remember what was in the book, but I remember reading that and thinking it felt weird. And obviously, it was setting up more to come. But it was like, when's that going to? And clearly, now is the time.
We were expecting it sooner than this, I think.
Yeah, but you know, I think now that I get to settle in, knowing that we're getting a full miniseries, and it feels like there's a full story to tell. Like I enjoyed this a lot more than I did that. Certainly.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to get invested in something that's not just a. You know, there is more to come. Presumably next month, not just at some ethereal point in the future. That maybe next month, maybe next year.
They've been solicited for the next 3 months, so you know we expect them. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they're all finished, and maybe if they insisted that they wouldn't publish it until it was all done.
Maybe because
of John's schedule.
Maybe because of Doomsday Clock, they waited till it was all finished. Very possibly.
Yeah, Doomsday Clock, and obviously he had some problems on the Shazam book as well. After Doomsday Clock, I think it was.
I think it overlapped, but yeah, it was.
Yeah,
what's that? Again, I do think his schedule is changing dramatically because of, you know, the show he's running being cancelled. But obviously that's only just happened now, and he was probably already writing this before, so there's a good chance that he did write all of it. But I wouldn't be surprised that if that show being cancelled ends up meaning that he ends up having more comic projects after these.
It's very possible, yeah.
So we'll see. But no, this was a good first issue, and I liked having that voice back again. It felt like there was this sort of this aura of like really respecting history, even though the history here is new, because it's these new characters that have been kind of erased, you know, seemingly. There's still kind of that magic to like discovering them, I think, that Johns is very good at doing, even though they're not actual legacy characters. So I enjoyed hearing that voice again, which was nice. All right, what are you rating Stargirl: The Lost Children issue 1?
Ooh, I'm gonna give it a 6. I think it's okay. It's pretty decent. I like Courtney and Emmy together.
I'm
not too big on the overall plot so far. It feels a little bit cynical about that, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, the cliffhanger's quite interesting. You'll see what happens with this island. All right. Oh, and I'll give it I like a straight 8 for me. I quite enjoyed it.